Hi, boys and girls. I hope you know how much all of us are missing you right now. I'm here today. I want to talk to you about part 3 of your food truck. In a separate video, I showed people how to use online tools. So I want you to see that if you want to do this project online, that's one option. This video, we are going to be focusing on how you do it on paper. We're also going to talk about how you can have some helpful tips to help you along the way and how you can calculate your area and perimeter to create a really fabulous food truck. So what I wanted to start today with is I wanted to show you that in your online version, you are going to have a rough draft. And essentially what this does is it allows you a chance to plan out your food truck floor plan. And the part that you really want to focus on is going to be this floor piece of it. The 4 walls are going to be modeled in a little bit to show you how this will become a 3-dimensional food truck. But this is my rough draft. And so what I did is I looked through the requirements list. And I used this paper to make sure that all of the required components were included in the actual truck itself. And so as you go down the line, what you are going to want to do is check things off. And so as I look at this, I would be checking off on this paper to make sure everything is included. So make sure you do use your resources to help you be really successful. So the next thing that I did is I took my idea, my rough draft, and now I'm going to put it together in a final version. And so on this page, you'll see that this one is the base floor plan, and only that, it's just the floor. It is a 14 by 7 square foot area. And what I did is I used my plan and I plotted things out on here. So now I have the part where it's really just outlined. And so now what I would do is I would go in and color it and label it. Okay, so I took my time and I colored this in. I know you can do a lot better than I can, but I did use my rough draft and I know created my floor plan and I have my labels, and I've really made sure that I used my checklist to make sure all of my required elements were in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and we're going to cut these walls out, and I'm going to show you how you can use these walls to show how this becomes a 3-dimensional truck. So I have my floor plan and I have taken my 2 pieces that are the walls, and I want to now show you, I cut them out and folded them, and I want you just to see how this is going to end up looking. So this is going to be 2 of your walls. So this would be the exit and the left side of the truck. And then this one's going to be placed over here. So I want to work with one at a time. And so what I notice is that if I take this and I lay this flat down, I want you to see that this is where my exit is. And so this is really going to become my door. So as I do this, I'm going to draw this line out, and I want you to see what happens as I bring this up. You can now see that that shows the structure of the door. I'm going to now take this and I'm going to lay this against the lines, the different components that I have here. And now I want you to think about, if this is my fridge and freezer, I want that to then go up. I want that to stack up vertically. And so my fridge and freezer, if you look at that, now shows that it is going to be tall in the 3-dimensional model. Now, if I take that one step further, I'm going to take my purple, and this should really highlight and show for you that this area will also be included with the freezer. So I'm going to show you one more, boys and girls, and I want to now go over here and we're going to do the stove. So my stove is not going to be quite as high as my freezer. My stove is going to be about 3 feet high, so that'll be a good working height for me as I am cooking my food in my food truck. So I'm going to shade that and color that in. And again, I'm going to hold this up and show you that this now shows how it can be a 3-dimensional model. All right, boys and girls, so I want you to know that I took my base and I cut that off of the grid paper. I also took this piece that's the roof. The project itself has this roof. It has 1 extra row along the perimeter of it. I personally think it's a little bit hard to work with, so I'm actually going to show you that. I'm going to cut along that inside box because now it'll fit right on top of your food truck. So I'm going to cut that off. You can try it with the larger shape. You might like having that little extra space to work with. I personally just found that it was a little difficult to work with. So this is going to end up being my roof. So what I want you to see is that as I put this together, my colors line up all along. And so this is going to be where you're really going to need your growth mindset and some patience, because we're now going to be putting it together. What I recommend you do is you lay this down on the table side by side and just take small pieces of tape and just tape it in. So once that one is done, I'm going to do this one next. Do you see where I have this word window? Don't worry about that for right now. I'm going to explain the window in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and tape that down. And so now notice that as I fold it up, it's got a little bit more structure to it. So now it's easier for me to tape the walls together. So I am going to do this, but you know what I just realized is that before I tape that down, I think it's important that I open up my door. So you don't have to do this with your project, but I want to show you if you want to. This is the bottom of the door, so I am just going to take my scissors and very carefully cut the door so that I can actually open it from the back. So if I do this now, I have my door opening. Can you think of anything else that you might want to open up? I was thinking that you need to have a place where you're going to serve the food, and so your window is going to be important. So I want you to look at this. So from the inside, you see that this is the counter. So from here over this entire space is actually your window that you're going to be serving food from. So I am actually going to cut this piece off of my wall. I'm going to put this aside because I'm actually going to be using it again in a minute, and I'll tell you why. And so as I now put this together, I'm going to use my tape. And this might require an extra person. This might be a good chance for you to get mom and dad, or maybe a brother or sister to help hold it while you assemble it. Or maybe you want to just do it yourself. Either way will work. And now I'm going to put together my last wall. And so now it actually has taken the shape of a truck. So there's the back door, so you can just see right inside. And here's the window where people are going to come up to your food truck and get your delicious food. This is the roof that I told you about earlier. And so what I want to just suggest to you is, as you put your roof down, I'm going to suggest that you just put tape on one side of the roof. And the reason why is because you are going to want to show off the wonderful work that you did inside, and this will allow you to have what we call a bird's eye view into the actual food truck. And so I want you to remember that this was that window that the food truck is where you're going to serve it from. So as you know, when you're serving food, you want that window to be up, right? But when you want to close shop and you're going to drive down the road, you have to close up that window. And so what I would recommend you do, you can either leave it off completely, and that's fine, or you can just take some tape and just go right over the top on the corner where you cut it, and on this corner where you cut it. And what that allows you to do is to be able to open up your little window and then roll it back down when you're not in business. So either way is completely fine, however you want to do it. Now, what I will tell you is that the other part of this is, I know that you're going to want to design the outsides of your truck. And so what I would suggest, one of two things. The first thing is this, if you're going to be designing on the outside of your truck, I recommend that you do it on a separate piece of paper and then just glue it down, because as you can imagine, at this point it would be really, really hard for you to do some beautiful art on here because it's three-dimensional. So you want to do that on separate paper, glue it down in any way that you would like to. So I want you to imagine that this is where your customers are going to be. So you'll want to decorate this side to be attractive, to use your logo or your slogan if you choose to do that. And then I would suggest that this is going to be the back of your truck. So if this is the back of a truck, what you often will see is advertising in the back so people know your business. And this is a blank slate, so you can do whatever you want on that one. And of course, this is going to be the driver's seat, and so this has to be the front of your vehicle. So you would have to have a windshield right here, and maybe draw some wheels on the side of it. So you can be as creative as you want with it from that point. But I recommend always using your checklist. And so as you are using your checklist, the last thing that I wanted to quickly point out to you is how you are going to go through and do your area and perimeter. I want you to know that this sheet is the important sheet for your teachers to see, because this is where you are going to show us that you understand how area and perimeter are calculated and how they are different. So your perimeter, again, as you have learned in your videos, is the distance going around a shape. So if I'm looking at the driver's seat in my model, I'm going to count out. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 feet that go around the outside. So I'm going to record this. I'm going to do this upside down. 8 feet, which is different than the area. The area is calculated by looking at the length times the width. So we have 1, 2 times 2, and so our area would be 4 square feet. So I want to really remind you that when you're calculating area, you are always going to be labeling that as square units, because that is that space in between, and perimeter is a linear measurement going around the outside. It's following a line. That's why we call it linear. You're following the line like you're walking around the rim of your shape. Boys and girls, have fun with your project. Good luck, and we really are super excited to see this wonderful food truck parade that we're going to be creating. Take care.